Hey, I'm John Chen. I'm the CEO with GeoTeaming. I'm glad to be your MC today. Today, we're here having some coffee talk with some very good friends. First, I'd like to introduce one of the AV masters at Crown Plaza, Seattle. I'd like to introduce to you Jim Fattore. Jim, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, John. So glad you're able to host this little event. I'm going to let the camera stay on Linda because she's better looking than I am. But glad you're able to do this. I'm glad to have Howard here. This is just, I think it's just a great way of getting our point across. So thanks so much again, John.
Thanks again, Jim. Jim is running the Owl Pro. This is a camera where Linda and Jim are actually in the same room, socially distanced, by the way, but the camera is a 360-degree camera and has a 360-degree mic. A very cool meeting tech. Next, I'd love to introduce one of our co-hosts for today. She's at the Crown Plaza, Seattle Airport. Let's give a round of applause for our amazing Linda Botts. Linda, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, John. I'm fabulous. It's another Friday, another weekend, and another week of whatever our new normal is, which is a word I'm beginning to really hate, but I will use it. And I also thank everybody for joining today. Obviously, we all have the same concerns and questions, and based on that, I will introduce Howard Wright. I had the privilege of working twice in my career for Howard indirectly at two hotels that he owned. The very first one was at the Pacific Plaza Hotel downtown on 4th and Spring when he owned it, along with Stuart. And I had the pleasure of working with them for nearly 9 years. And thanks to Howard and Stuart, I learned a lot about Seattle and this industry. Howard is also the owner of SH Worldwide. Howard, he can help me, but SH Worldwide, MTR Western, part owner in the Sheraton. Obviously, the Wright family have the Space Needle, the Seattle Center, Shahudi Garden and Glass. The Howard's family are very, very prominent in this community. And as such, Howard to me is a voice of reason. And I hope that you all agree. And please ask him questions, because one thing about Howard is he'll tell you the truth. He won't whitewash it. But the other thing is if he doesn't know, he'll tell you he doesn't know. But the chances are he will find out if it's something that you really need to know desperately. So having said that, Howard Wright, take it away.
Thank you very much. That's very kind, Linda. When I was listening to the introduction, I was thinking multiple companies for my multiple personalities. In all seriousness. It was a pleasure to work together, and now we get to work together in a different way. You mentioned that you were having wine on your deck, social distancing with colleagues. I think I was there. I was 75 miles away, so that's good social distancing, but I think I was having a glass of wine the same night. I did, and thank you for your kind comments about being a voice of reason, and if I don't know, I'll say so, which is true. I did post a week ago today that I thought that we should recall the entire city council. And I don't usually post things that I don't mean to follow through on. My point of that posting was to get a conversation going, which is what we're doing today and what is happening across many channels in the city. The actual logistics of a recall is very difficult, And we do have two positions coming up next year on the city council. I believe it's the two at-large positions. Of course, the mayor is up next year as well. And I just wanted to bring to the council's attention that they are not representing the majority of the city, and especially for the two at-large members. And I don't have any personal antipathy toward these individuals. I just think that they don't know what they're doing. I was really moved last night when Mayor Bloomberg was talking about President Trump. He said, "I'm not asking you to vote against President Trump because he's a bad guy. I'm asking you to vote against President Trump because he's done a bad job." And that really clarified it and crystallized my feelings about the council. I will say there is one thing, there are many things I don't know. One of the things I don't know is that when I began working with the mayor's office and the city council, closer than I ever had beginning 5 years ago, I one time asked Mayor Murray why he didn't veto a piece that had come out of council and crossed his desk. And he said, because they have the votes to override me. And I never understood that. Why wouldn't you, and this is not about Murray, this is about many of them, why wouldn't you stand for your principles to send a message that if I don't like this, I don't believe it, I don't think it's good for the city, I'm going to veto it. If you override me, you override me. But I find that to be true in many situations here with our city council. It's frustrating. A comment was, there have been a lot of hits, as we all know, taken at, quote, big business. And what I truly believe most council members don't understand is that it's less that big businesses support small businesses, and more that the employees of the big businesses support the small businesses. So in the core, which is my area, I know that there are many of you on this call who represent different neighborhoods and different parts of our region. Mine happens to be downtown mostly. And I know that it's the employees who are not downtown that have been, who aren't spending any money to support these small businesses because they're working from home, as we should be working from home right now. So it's very, very frustrating that our small businesses, which contribute so much to our economy, to GDP, and to a stable middle class, are really, really suffering right now because we've all had to work from home. So with that, I'll stop. Take a breath.
Thank you so much, Howard. I think before we start taking we really want this to be conversational, and it's exciting. We have 16 total people with us here. We already have another 15 and more on Facebook Live. They're going to chat some questions. I'm going to help moderate those questions. But Howard, what I'm really curious about is on this hospitality side, this industry has been hit so hard. And from your seat, which you get to see quite a bit, what are you seeing? And, can you back it up with some of the data that you're seeing, either occupancy rates or dollars or anything else? Because I think we gotten a lot of stuff from media, but I would love to hear it from your seat.
Sure. And thank you. I do love this industry, and I am experiencing it with everybody in our industry. We as a group are experiencing it more deeply, I think, than any other sector. Tourism, travel, and hospitality. And when times were good, and they will be again, but when times were good, it was good for us. And right now our sector is deeply, deeply struggling. At the Needle, we opened 3 weeks ago. As you know, got a lot of press on the cleaning and filtration systems and the investments that we made so that we felt comfortable opening. We're experiencing, on good days, on weekends, we have about 1,000 people a day over 10 hours. Social distancing, masks required, 50% capacity in the elevator. Elevator is 48-second ride. And so we're putting 9 people in it. It usually takes 19. We used to have operators. Someday again, we'll have operators because they're good ambassadors. But we're doing some automation there. Chihuly Garden and Glass, same experience. It's working out all right because you're Chihuly Garden and Glass, no elevators, no stairs, and we have good markings to keep people safely from one another. At our big box hotel, the hotels downtown that are open are actually doing better than we are in terms of occupancy. And that's simply because we are so group focused. And as we all know, there is no group business right now. At least there isn't for us. And so it's going to take us longer to come back. We are open. We are blessed with airline crews. Thank you, airline crews, for anybody who's on this call with an airline. And as long as we have that, we can do well. One of the problems that we're all experiencing, especially downtown from the protests, is that now other cities, some of our friendly competitors, are using that to market against Seattle. And that's really hard. So we can get through this COVID. But then when other cities are saying, you know, Seattle has quite a bit of unrest, Portland has quite a bit of unrest, wouldn't you really rather come to, you know, fill in the blank? San Diego, Bay Area, Vancouver, and I'm just picking these out of the air. So that's been sort of a double black eye, if you will. And
don't you find that like challenging in our industry where we're all trying to collaborate or work together to have somebody kind of use that type of tactic?
Well, John, I would find it more frustrating if it were happening within our own family here in the Puget Sound region or in Western Washington. But, you know, competition is competition, right? I mean, it's, we're all struggling. I mean, you look at our rooms tax that pays for to retire the bonds on the present convention center we have downtown. And now we have a second convention center that's out of the ground. And there's no room tax to pay for the completion of that. So it, you know, it's a competitive environment, and we recognize that. And this is just a steeper hill for us to climb right now. We'll get through it, but it's not easy.
Well, Howard, thank you for that. Let's bring in Tim Hunter with Tim Hunter Creative Services. Tim, are you there? So Tim has a question about the council. So let's move from Seattle's state to the leadership, which I think is really a key important. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Hi, good. My question was if recalling the entire council is plan A, what would plan B be?
Thanks, Tim. I see a couple of things. One of the things that we've learned, and when I say we, there's a loose group of us that are talking about what do we do now? You know, this is the same group that identified and provided some financial support to candidates who ran last time. And we got trounced. There's just no other way to paint it. It did not help that our friends at Amazon wrote one very large check, which was used as a cudgel against us. What this group that I'm talking about, People for Seattle, what we didn't know is how many other groups similar to our point of view are out there. And now we're talking about bringing us all together under one big umbrella. Does that mean, Tim, that we become one group? I don't know. But it does mean that we work and coordinate and collaborate together, you know, as John suggested a minute ago. So you got a short question. I'm giving you a long answer for which I apologize. But it's to identify candidates who represent our sector well, who also take care of people who need taken care of in our region, but also need to promote business, create jobs, and to run these people against the incumbents who simply do not understand how important business is to a thriving city.
Excellent. Let me head to Linda. Linda, do you have another question for Howard or another? I know there's 2 or 3 things that you really want to make sure and cover.
Yeah, thank you, John. So Howard, based on that, what can this group and others that are concerned do to assist you with People for Seattle? Is it something that we can join? Is it something that we can help with your voice to get out there and advocate on behalf of this organization? Because I think one of the things that we as a group have felt, and I've had this conversation recently with Megan from Seattle Southside, is that because we have all been working away from our nucleus families and not on property and not doing this, there's this feeling of helplessness that we have no control over anything and there's nothing we can do. And I think that is what's driving this conversation, that we are at a point now where we are fed up with waiting for the powers to be to make decisions on our behalf, and we need to get involved to try and move forward some of those things. So what would you like to see us do? I mean, Howard, all joking apart, are you thinking of running? Would you run for one of these positions?
Howard.
Thank you. The answer is no, I am not running. Okay. The reason I'm not running is because 10 years ago, maybe, but now in my 60s, and creating these companies that you described when you introduced me is my highest priority outside of my family. The other thing is just quite frankly, no offense meant to any of my peers, but it's really hard to get someone who looks like me elected in this community. So that would be a challenge. So I'll just leave it at that. What can we do? There are two things that we can do. One is, if you live in Seattle, is concrete, and the other is less concrete. And one is to support the present mayor. She's not everyone's favorite, but she's, I think, really has the best intentions. She's been a little bit spooked by this, but my worry is, just for those who may not be familiar with the election schedule in Seattle, we all know, of course, that we have a presidential election and some statewide seats coming up in, 7 weeks. The mayor's election is a year from now. And my worry in this, I want to be really clear what I'm saying here, and I know that we're on Facebook Live, that this is my personal worry, okay? It's what I think about. Nobody has said anything to me. Nobody's indicated anything to me. But my worry is that we don't keep this mayor in her seat, and that she does not run is my concern. I'm worried that she's not going to run again, and I want to make sure that she does, and I want to make sure that she's reelected. So that's one concrete. The other is that as we cobble together these groups, Linda, that I was describing, we'd very much like to have this group in the newsletter chain and out spreading the word and helping us identify candidates who can run. And it's not just for Seattle, it's for the whole region. And I think that I will pay my friends at Labor a huge compliment. And that is that their ground game has been really, really good. It's been much better than the employer's ground game. And we need to work on that. And my personal opinion is that with declining membership numbers in the labor organizations, that they pivoted several years ago, came up with a new strategy that if we can't gain members in our membership groups, then what we're going to do is try to do this through legislation. We've all seen what's happened with the protection measures for some of our employees, the panic buttons, the healthcare initiatives, things like that. And that has come through the city council members of SeaTac and Seattle and other locations. And they've done a really good job at it. And that's an area that we can do a better job ourselves, blunting some of those initiatives.
Perfect. Thanks, Howard.
Thanks,
Okay.
Howard.
Yeah.
So I know this is also a key issue that Linda is really looking at. And I know because you have so much interest in the downtown, right? I think that part of it is what's happened to downtown. I know when I last drove through there, right? Everything is boarded up, and it's very challenging at this time. Side note, I'm actually part of a committee. I got asked to MC a part to celebrate the art in the international district that they've created off of that plywood to try and revitalize the community. And that's kind of what I think I'm getting at. The other issue is around homelessness. So it's Howard, from your seat, what do you see what's the best way for Seattle to come back and address some of these issues, which is like everything right now feels boarded up, and there's definitely a lot of homeless, which was already an issue pre-COVID, has become a bigger issue. What are some of the things that you're looking at there that could help the economy and of course the businesses that you have down there?
Sure. So on the homelessness issue, thank you, John. On the homelessness issue, I think that I think we are going to see some improvements. It's going to take a while. So you've been hearing that for a long time. We've all been hearing it. It's going to take a while. If you step back and look at what happened was, I am going to name names, but this isn't about that. It's about when it occurred. I am dating this, if you will, benchmarking it. In the early 80s was the Reagan administration. And the Reagan administration decided to take federal funding, take funding of mental health services and addiction services and send it down to the states. They wanted to get it out of the federal responsibility. So it was shoved down to the states, and it was up to the states to solve. So that was 40 years ago, right? And those young people who were born in the 80s and 90s are now the adults that we're seeing on the street. Our state, until last year, is an unbelievable statistic, was number 48 in funding of those services. And you wouldn't think that that would be true of the state of Washington, because we're quite progressive in most areas, but that area is one that we had not been funding at all. And this is what we're seeing. So to get the legislature to begin funding these services for homelessness and for addiction, is what we are beginning to see. And this will take a while to get into the marketplace. And I think that there's also something that I'm involved with called permanent supportive housing, which is permanent housing, and supportive means with services. And our goal is to build 6,000 units, and was just announced that the first 600 units are going to be built. It's a multi-billion-dollar program. It's going to take state funding, county funding, and some private funding. And that will take a while. Are we going to get there? We are. Am I sugarcoating this? I don't think so. I know how bad this is. I live downtown. I work downtown. I walk to work. Used to take the bus. Now I walk. And it is really grim. It is really grim down there. And we just power through this and help these people and come out the other side. So I am optimistic about it, but I try to be realistic about it as well.
Yeah, I think Jenny Durkin did say it best when it was like day one or day two, and she walked through that, and she basically broke down at her press release, because none of us have ever seen anything like this in our lifetimes. Thank you so much for that. Let's invite Amanda Emery with MTR Western, and let's see. Amanda has a question for you. Go ahead, Amanda. Oh, remember you're on mute.
Yep, there we go. Thank you. Yeah, Howard, you mentioned that your organizations run on large groups, and there's a lot of talk with remote working becoming our new norm, and how there's a lot of corporate travel that we have experienced in the past in the hospitality industry. And so just curious what your thoughts are for the future and what corporate travel might look like in the hospitality and tourism industry.
Thank you. And Amanda and I worked together for a long time, so just full disclosure, that was not a planted question. Although I wish you had sent it to me last night, but anyway.
This is live.
We'll talk about that later. I see a recovery in our region beginning next year, and I see a recovery with small groups, transient leisure travel. I think that business travel will begin to come back. I think that large group travel will be the last to come back, which doesn't mean never, and doesn't mean 5 years out. But I think that as these various sectors come back, I think that they will trail the others. I did get no private information, anything like that, but a week ago today, I heard Dr. Fauci say that they're expecting that Q1 of this next year for vaccines to be available. And that was followed up by Guy Palmer, who runs the Allen School for Global Animal Health over at WSU. He and I were on a call last weekend. We're friends, we're hiking buddies. And he said the same thing, that that's what he is seeing in his professional information loop. So with that, I think that we'll begin to see a recovery next year. But again, it's going to start small with small groups, individuals, transients, and then move into small groups, business travel, and then eventually large groups. Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So I believe, Howard, speaking of that, it's like there are a number of programs, I think, that are helping, or committees and a collection of people. Can you talk about some of the either the projects or programs that are happening that maybe people don't know about, and that also that they could get involved with?
I will. I'll tell you what, I'm going to punt on that one, John, if I may, and that is offered to work with this group. When these groups, when these various groups out in orbit are working together, I will bring this group in and provide the contact information. It's just now sort of coming into focus. So I'm not being coy or kicking the can down the road. I just don't have that information quite yet.
Oh, that's perfect.
Thank you.
Let's see, checking through the other one. So Howard, a lot of us, of course, are just trying to figure out what are the tangible actions. So there's a lot of things that you see, of course, up high, but each one of us is trying to do something down here, either in the trenches or just trying to make it work. And I'm just trying to see beyond our normal jobs, of course, if we have one, is what do you suggest that people, especially in this hospitality industry, do to try and help us come back, help Seattle come back?
You bet. Good question. And I would love to see people just come downtown and come down to the waterfront, come to Seattle Center, try to support our peers, many of whom are on this call. To try to spend, spend a little bit of money if you can, supporting these organizations.
Oops, hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Jim, would you unmute again? There you go.
Look good.
Can
Go
you
ahead,
hear
Linda.
me?
Yes, go ahead.
So Howard, thank you for saying that. And one of the things that I've been saying is that I think as an industry, us as an industry, hospitality, whatever, I think we can have a grassroots movement that does exactly that. I have been making sure that I go to local restaurants when I can. I have been making sure that I go out. I've, done a weekend in Leavenworth. I'm about to go up and do a weekend in Lacona because I heard that Lacona is really having a tough time. So I think if we in our industry get out and about as we can, being safe, doing what we need to do, I'm 100% with you. We need to start that at a grassroots level, and then we need to start saying on social media that it's okay to do this, that I felt safe doing it. I just recently flew back to New York to see my family, and I made a point of telling everybody it was great. It was on Delta, Howard, you'll be pleased to know. They did an amazing job. I felt safe, and I will get on a plane and go again to wherever I can go and stay in a hotel because I know how well we're taking care of our guests. So I think that grassroots movement needs to happen. So I encourage everybody, go to the Space Needle, go to Chihuly Gas. I agree, go out and eat, go and do something fun.
I agree. And thank you, Linda, for that. And I think it's really important. And I think that our two hometown airlines are doing an outstanding job of treating people. And you saw Delta's announcement yesterday that they're extending their middle seat ban, through first week of January. Our friends in Alaska are doing a spectacular job and are great community players, but they're keeping people safe. And the options for supporting our local businesses are across sort of all economic categories. And, you can go down to the waterfront and there's some free parking down there. There's also subsidized cheap parking down there. You can go down and go to the Wing Dome or go down and just get a hot dog or something like that. And buy a bottle of water or buy a beer. And, you're in and out for $20. And then there are other options, to go to the Needle or go to the Seattle Center, but just get some takeout. That sort of thing. My wife and I took a staycation. We all read about staycations, and I used to think about staycations as, yes, people in our region, please take a staycation as long as you spend your money at our businesses. And now, we went and rented kayaks and did an overnight camping weekend, and it was fantastic. And I'm going to Lacona in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from yesterday, I'm going to Lacona, and we're going to spend the night just to do that. There's a great piece in this morning's, I think I read it in the Business Journal, the Puget Sound Business Journal, about Port Angeles. That's a nice day's drive. And it was about the ferry service to Victoria and about the border being closed and all of that. But I thought, hey, why not go to Port Angeles and just spend the day, have lunch there, spend a little bit of money locally, go to the, local convenience store, buy my gas there, that sort of thing. So Linda, I think you set a great example of how we can do this, how we can support each other doing this. And I don't know what your rates are at the airport, but I can tell you that there's some pretty compelling rates downtown. So come on down and spend the night.
There's some very compelling rates, and we're doing well at the airport again. Thank you to the airlines. That's another thing. But so last night we ran 70% occupancy, Howard.
70. Okay.
70.
So we're all in this together. So send half of that to me, would you?
Speaking half of that, the other half here is on Facebook Live. I want to give some shout outs. Gene Iceberg, Alicia Weselek, Joy Carpenter, Adam Dyes, who's currently the PCMA, I think, incoming president. Jen Graves, who's a VP at one of our healthcare providers in the area. Crystal Southcore, Margaret Berg, and Susie Scott. Joy Carpenter asked, how do you see corporate groups changing in the short term, and how can venues help to be ready for this?
I think it's all about messaging. Let's just assume baseline, right? That your facility is safe. Okay, so just starting with that as a baseline, your facility is safe, and then getting that message out. This is a safe place to be. And that's the challenge that we had specifically at the Needle. You know, when people used to think, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get in an elevator. And we had to convince people that our filtration system is second to none. Everybody's required to wear masks. We take your temperature. We have hand sanitizer when you get on. We have hand sanitizer when you get off. We ask people to keep their conversations to a minimum, which for 48 seconds is doable for most people. So it's about messaging and just having people believe that you are a safe place to come to. That's what will bring back groups, right?
And again, you know how social media works, Howard, right? If it's safe or not safe, the world will seem to determine it in a very short order. I don't know if you've seen that too. And again, it is great though, like this, like when Linda goes and travels and is able to dispel what's going on and report what's actually going on. And as a meeting professional, I mean, she's doing two things too. She is in her office. She's selling a product that she believes in, and she comes in there and is safe. I think that's some of the best things that we can do.
I do too. Agreed. Thank you for that.
Let's so I know one of the questions, Linda, do you want to ask about, educating the governor? What's your kind of viewpoint that you're looking for Howard or the governor?
May not have enough time for this.
We have 64 hours left on this live stream. Let's go.
I don't know how many people on the call are aware of the Meetings Coalition that has been set up by Visit Seattle. I shared the letter that I got a copy of with Howard and some correspondence I've had with Tom Norwalk. So I don't know how many people are aware of it, but there is a Meetings Coalition between Visit Seattle, Tacoma, Spokane, some hotel groups to try and educate the governor on how we in the industry can actually keep small meetings safe. So for example, my thought is, if I can get on a plane with 100+ people and be in close proximity to them, even 6 feet apart, not always, in a meeting room, we can do a really good job. So I have asked on a couple of occasions how we can support that effort that I know Spokane's doing, as I said, Tacoma, Visit Seattle. Howard, are you part of that coalition? Is there anything you can suggest that we could maybe do to help? I know Becky Bogart is doing the advocacy work with the governor's office. So I just wonder what we can do at a grassroots level.
We are part of that coalition. I myself as an individual am not, and Becky is doing the work for us. What I have found is that the governor's office has actually been pretty accessible for listening. I wish that they had a faster track for getting back to us for our requests, but I'm glad that there is an avenue that is hearing some of our requests. It's really, I'll just put it out there, everyone. It's really frustrating right now to see some venues who can open with more than 5 people, right? But some of us can't. I mean, we're following it at the Sheraton Grand. We're following it very narrowly and conservatively. And when we see that, I mean, we can't have groups of more than 5, but we can go into a restaurant where it can be 50% capacity. We went through a thorough, laborious and tedious, but ultimately successful application process through the governor's office for 50% capacity in the elevator for the Needle. And we did get approval. So it's not a consistent practice, is it? We all know that. But I think that this coalition has gone back to the state's office to show some of these comparisons and what the inconsistencies are so that we can get more groups into our meeting rooms and get business back.
Yeah, Howard, how do you, there's 2 questions around here too. How do you balance that safety with what's legal? And then I can add on to this. Susie Scott is actually interested. Is there now a general guideline for what hotels or your hotels are doing for cleaning and sanitizing rooms between guests?
Yes.
Yeah, in our situation, it's a little bit of a hybrid answer, Susie, at our hotel, because it's a large hotel, 1,263 rooms, and we're running, low double-digit occupancy. So just in terms of labor efficiency, we are not cleaning rooms. I know that I'm on live, so I have to be really careful here. We are cleaning all rooms. Let's just start with that. We're not cleaning all rooms after somebody checks out, because we're putting people in newly cleaned, previously unoccupied rooms, right? So then we go through and do a full sweep of the cleaning of the rooms that have been previously occupied. I know that my friends in the smaller end business up in San Juan County doesn't allow you to rent a room for 24 hours after somebody's checked out. I feel for those guys up there, because I think that there's another way to do it. And that is, just by thorough and deep cleaning after somebody does check out. You can opt in to downtown. You can opt in to have your room cleaned on a daily basis if you're there for an extended stay. But most people are actually opting out because they don't want the visitors. Our in-room dining downtown is that you come down to the front desk and pick up your in-room dining. It's in a attractive logoed, ribbon tied, shopping bag, things like that. So that's just another way to stay safe, to minimize human contact, right? And we want to keep our team members safe. First and foremost, we want to keep everybody safe, without exception, and that includes guests and team members.
Wow, thank you, Howard. So what you're saying is like you have some kind of room rotation system. It's almost like you mark the room booked for multiple days, even though it's not occupied, so that you can come back around and take the time to clean them. Does that sound about right?
That's correct. And John, for us also, it's just a labor strategy, because we just don't have, we're unlike the airport and, some of the destination places for weekends, for staycations and getaways and things like that. Yeah. At least in our singular property downtown, I can't speak for my friends and neighbors there, but we just don't have the demand for our rooms. So for us, it's labor management. We don't have many rooms occupied. And so we are doing deep group cleansing on a scheduled basis with our housekeepers.
Wow. I'll give you some open-ended questions here, Howard, which is like, for all the meeting professionals in the area, right? You're getting a chance to do this, which is like have a conversation with them. What's something you can tell us, right? There may be something real, but maybe something also so hopeful from your perspective.
I know that all of us in the room have people who look up to us for inspiration and leadership. And I think that that's our number one job, is to provide hope and to be honest, and to say, if you don't know the answer, that we don't know the answer. People will see through that if you come across in any other way. But especially Amanda's on the call here, but at MTR Western, one of our early messages is that, hey, this is going to be tough, and it's not going to be without some blood on the floor, but we're going to be here on the other side of this. We're going to get through this. We will be here, we will survive, and we will be here with you. And it's going to be some tough sledding, and just provide some sort of hope out there. What do we like to do as humans? We're a social species, right? We want to see each other. The other thing that we are in our species is that we like certainty. And if there were ever a time that certainty has been a challenge, it would be now. So we have to be honest about that too. I will tell people anything and everything that I know, and just provide some hope and inspiration that we'll get through this. And my favorite phrase is that I cannot wait to be talking about this when it's in the rearview mirror, and we can say, hey, remember last year when we were going through this? Remember that call that we had on Friday? I look forward to being able to talk about it in that context.
We were supposed to just have coffee, and then you found out you were on Facebook Live. I want to let's talk about this piece. This is a time where almost everybody is adapting. I kind of really don't like the P word, pivot. I don't want to say unprecedented, right? But there's really been some gifts. Like I like to ask some people, what's a gift that the coronavirus has given you? So I'll give you an example. Like I started putting online classes as early as March, as soon as the first lockdown went down, because I've been studying virtual team building for over 20 years, and I got a deal, which is my publisher came back and he says, "Hey, John, do you want to write your second book?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got time for that. Let's do this." And so I'm going to publish my second book, and that wouldn't have happened, I don't think, without a pandemic. So I'm curious, do you have any unexpected successes or gifts that you think were given to you either personally or professionally?
Oh, I think on a very personal and selfish level, just having some THINK, some think time. Something I've always wanted to have more of and never created the time to do it. That's been one. The other is on the social side, and that is that I've heard from people whom I haven't heard from in a really long time. And I have reached out to people whom I haven't reached out to in a really long time, saying, "Hey, just thinking of you," or "Hey, came across your name. How are you? And I hope you're doing well." And it's not a toss away line. It really is sincere. And I talked to 2 CEOs in the last week, people for whom some of us on this call work for. And they're looking at how there are silver linings also, but at the same time, they're also admitting that this is really, really hard. And when you carry the responsibilities of leadership, it comes with both the benefits and some of the challenges, right?
Yeah.
To answer your question, those are my 2 silver linings: is the think time that it's allowed, and the reconnecting time with peers and friends.
It's like Bill Gates, of course, one of our local CEOs. He's consistently taken a week or more, right, to just be away and to think. And now, well, slightly more than a week. But I think this leads me into the other part. I, as early as March, in the Cascadia, the MPI, Meetings Professional International Conference, started talking about all of us in this hospitality and meeting industry. Watch out for your mental health. What do you do to keep your mental health healthy during this time, especially with as many of those leadership responsibilities you have?
Mental health is so, what he said. Well, that's a very individual, I will answer, but that's a very individual question. And for me, it's actually physically working out. I get a workout in every day. And it just clears my brain and says, sort of resets. I try to do it for me. I try to do it at the end of the day. Working downtown when we all had our pre-COVID lives, the end of the day never worked for me because the end of the day always got taken up by something else. Now I have the time for that. But the mental health part of this is really important. What works for me may not work for you. It's just like we've been having a few gatherings, limited and small in size, both socially and business-wise. And what we've been saying about masks are, what is the lowest comfort level of keeping your mask on or off, and how far away are we sitting from each other? And then that is the baseline that we go with. And so that's, again, a very individual decision. I was away last weekend, and I saw a car drive by, one person in it, windows were up, presumably air conditioning was on because it was so warm, and she had her mask on and she's by herself. And I thought, well, okay, I'm not sure I'm going to that extreme with my mask practice.
Exactly.
I've seen
that. Yeah. So anyway, it's keeping a sense of humor, keeping a perspective. A lot of really, really great, fantastic young people on this call. And I remember, being in my 60s now, I have the advantage of age and experience and some perspective that this too, it really will, everyone, this too shall pass. And we'll get through it on the other side, and we'll be here together with you. But it's not easy, and we recognize that.
Yeah, we got through 2007, 2008, right? When the housing market crash, got through 2001 when the dot bomb went off, and that's at least I think something that in the hospitality is, if it's nothing else, resilient. Speaking of which, Leslie Young Cutler, one of our meeting planners, one of our meeting professionals, has some perspectives on things that's been gifts that the coronavirus has given her. Leslie.
Hi. So yeah, I feel like this has catapulted me into learning, not just me, all of us, into learning virtual meeting technology. It's something that, I've kind of danced around for years. Hotels have said, oh, we can do virtual site inspections. I'm like, no, 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 no. Now that's all we're doing, and we're signing contracts based on a virtual site inspection. So that to me has been a huge learning curve, as well as, being able to sell virtual meetings to clients and helping them understand how they can still move forward with their meetings, which is, that's a hard leap for me because I'm not a really very technical person. But the other thing that I think is going to be really good for our industry is that I think this isolation and lack of human contact is going to prove to stakeholders down the road how important face-to-face meetings are and how essential human contact is. And I think in the end, when we get through this, and God willing, we all do, our businesses will soar. That's what I'm hoping.
I completely agree with you. Yep.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
So yeah, Howard, I replayed for a group. We've been meeting for a year. I'm actually a part of a group that's coaching 12 Black entrepreneurs here in Seattle. And by the way, the 12 entrepreneurs are all not only surviving, but they're all thriving, that means they're breaking the odds. And I played a video at the beginning, and we had a retreat, right? Remember when we used to do retreats, Howard?
Sure.
And we're all together, and there's this striking picture, which is all of us in a circle, all sitting next to each other. And it was played at the end of this, like basically about a week ago. And I think kind of people got emotional about it, because they're just like, when are we going to be able to do that again? So I'm kind of curious, Howard, what are you doing virtually, and what do you think about how the value of face-to-face is going to go possibly even higher when things return?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Leslie. I think that we are a social species, and I do think that there is a need to get back together, and we will. I too, no different than anybody else on this call, been doing everything virtually. I've had, in 5 months, I've had one meeting a month that meets in person. Great big, 12-foot long table, 5 people around it, chairs pushed back, arriving with masks, departing with masks. And that's all that outside of my family, that's all that I've been able to do. But we'll gradually, I think, ease back into this. I hate to use this saying, but I'm going to. We just have to take the tough medicine first, which is right now, to get through this, and we will get through this.
We wish there was a tough medicine. It would have been a lot easier. Shout outs to Crystal Bauer, Jody Lee, Allison Bailey, and I think this guy, Ethan Stowell, is checking in with you. Well, let's tackle a hard topic and then an easier topic. People really want to know about this defunding the police. I mean, some people out of state, I know, were actually like, holy cow, Seattle actually did it. But I also know that it may have consequences for downtown. I personally don't know the right answer. And I know, Howard, you're just speaking. So I'd just like to hear what thoughts you can share, especially publicly, with this.
Sure. I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts. And Linda and John, I apologize if I've mismanaged my calendar, but I'm going to host a similar event like this starting at 9. Starting at 10.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
So defunding, if I could be just picky for a second, and that is, it's an unfortunate word, because I've heard many people whom I respect and believe in the police department would use another word, and that is reprioritizing, budgeting, spending, that sort of thing. We half an hour ago, we were talking about homelessness. When there's an issue in any of our communities, whether it's Linwood or Enumclaw or Tukwila, anywhere, do we really need an armed law enforcement officer to come help a person in need on the street when it really could be a social worker? Should we be moving in Shuttle's case, should we be defunding the navigation team? I don't think so. Do some of our law enforcement officers maybe need some retraining? I'm not a law enforcement officer. I never was in the military, and I don't say that proudly nor with shame. I'm just saying it just wasn't part of my track when I was back in the 70s. So I can only make an observation as a citizen, and that is that our men and women of the military have been through very, very difficult, sometimes unspeakable experiences abroad, right? Mm-hmm. And so I ask a question: have we helped these Americans who have served our country reassimilate back into civilian life? Mm-hmm. And I don't know the answer to that, but it's a question that should be asked. That's what I ask. So obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, I do not believe in the defunding as defined of the police departments in any community. I do believe in reallocating resources and putting trained people where they specifically can be most helpful. Mm-hmm. I do believe that, so.
Howard, thank you. I know you got to go. You want to just leave with the last word here? Anything either inspirational or highlighting?
Thank you. Two things. I will stay in touch with our group here and provide information as these other groups in orbit begin to come together. If interested, I'd love to include this group. And also, I'm pretty easy to find. Be happy to answer any questions, have people reach out to me directly. And I love working with everybody on this group and would look forward to hearing from you. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Linda. Good to see you, Jim. John, thanks for moderating. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Howard. As a team, I believe that we can do it. Thank you. I know Howard's got to go. Linda, will you and Jim, will you give us some closing words for this? Thank you for putting this together. I'd love to hear what each of you got from today's talk and with Howard's time.
Well, I think if I'm going to say what I got from it is, I think I just got a little bit more clarity on what I heard 2 weeks ago on the call that I was on from the Downtown Association. I 100% agree with everything that he has to say. I also like the fact that he is one of the leaders that are giving us hope that things are going to get better. I sit in too many webinars with people that are full of gloom, doom, and despair, and that are making it sound as if it's 2025 before we can expect to see each other again or travel. So, I like the fact, and I will continue to say, he is the voice of reason for me. So I think that's great. Thank you, everybody that joined in. I think that is wonderful. And I am very excited to hear the next thing from Howard as to how we can help with some of the groups that he's getting involved in. I think that's one thing that we all need out of this is we need to have some sort of, we need to take charge and take control and think that we're doing something. So that's my take out of it, Jim.
Well, I think it was great to get everybody together. And I think one of the other things that it adds a little bit of normality to a world that seems like, gosh, who knows what's going on. I think that it gives you some positive thoughts rather than just negative, as Linda said. I think also what you take out of this is that if we're in the business, go out and support other small businesses, restaurants and so on. You can't expect people to come to us if we're not willing to go out and be with them. And I think that we can lead by example rather than just sitting in a closet. I think that's one of the things I got out of this. I'm excited. I think that Howard is phenomenal. I think that with the guidance that he has and the connections that being able to reach out to the people that have the decision-making power as far as the governor's office and so on. So I'm very optimistic and excited, and I'm glad everybody was able to attend, and we'll make this a monthly Friday coffee talk.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jim and Linda. And again, I'm John Chen. Thank you so much for being here. It's so great to hear Howard. He's in a big leadership role. He has a lot of meeting professional resources in this city. And it's great to hear how he's handling it. And of course, how we can come out of it all together. We'll see you the next time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook Live.